So we're going to get this underway. A couple of interesting things that are different from when I made the overview video. I was mixed up about maps and such. So the Russians, when they come on, they have to come on map 38 here on a road hex. So either this hex or this hex. So I have my territorial units all set up to try to slow the Russians down here, and I blew these bridges trying to force them this way. But I don't think that was the right idea. I think that what we want to do is keep these bridges here wrecked and force the Soviets to try to come through this dense area just so that we can slow them down as much as possible. And so this is where I have my improved position set up down back here because, as I've said in the past, infantry versus armor in cities have a significant advantage. So these territorial forces, I believe, are basically the National Guard that we have in America. So it's, guys like me, probably a little younger than me, who have not spent a lot of time gearing up for this or training or any of that stuff. Don't have great equipment. But even so, I think that they can, especially with an assault across a bridge. So this is sort of like the last line of defense here. These three bridges, the Russians will have to get across, or they do have a bridging unit in their tank formation, so they could come down here and drop a bridging unit there. But that takes a little time, and the West Germans do have some help coming from this direction here, and as early as next turn. And so I think that I'm in a situation here where we'll be able to delay them, about as well as we can. I am not going to begin the infantry here. So disrupted units are able to move if they're not allowed to move closer to any unit that they can see. And when they move, if they're disrupted, if they move into the line of sight of an enemy that they hadn't been in before, they have to stop. So effectively what that means is, generally speaking, that if the German infantry is here and the Russians blow past these Mungas, I love these things, Munga with the recoilless rifle, a weapon I was obsessed with when I was a kid, that even if they get disrupted by fire, I'm thinking the Russians aren't likely to assault them in the city, they should be able to continue falling back as needed and make their way back to this final improved position defense here. And I also, I've got the lone tank, the M48 Patton, and the Jagdpanzer. I don't expect them to live very long, but they'll get some shots at the Russians as they come down here, or if the Russians try to crest this hill and come at them, they'll have some shots at the Russians. And so I've got the improved positions here for the infantry, hoping that if the Soviets try to sort of disrupt them with fire before making the assault, that they will help, because an assault across a bridge under any circumstance is significantly more difficult. If you have seen the movie A Bridge Too Far, you know what I'm talking about. If you have not seen the movie A Bridge Too Far and you are interested in this game, you should immediately stop watching this video and go watch A Bridge Too Far. By far my favorite war movie ever. And the scene where they're trying to get across the bridge is the best scene. We should negotiate a surrender. We haven't the proper facilities to take you all prisoner. Sorry. Was there anything else? Greatest screenwriting I've ever seen. All right. If you know, you know. So, as the game begins, the Soviets, 145th Guards Tank Division has the initiative. Now, I'm just putting them up here in stacks so that I can move them. They have to come in either of these places. But I want to be able to zoom in a little bit and see what they're doing. And so the Soviets have to decide, with theoretically the help of the solo assistant, what to do here. But the solo assistant doesn't say this hex or that hex for entry, so I pick that. And so the Soviets, they could come in this way. They could even try to make an end run here. But they know that there are some West German forces out in this area, and they also know that they should, an entire tank regiment or brigade. 1 second, my daughter needs something. They should be able to make their way through this pretty understrength unit relatively easily. So I'm not sure it matters a lot whether they come in this road or this road. This road, they'll get into the fight a little quicker. But that's what I think they're going to do. I'm using the solo assistant for the Warsaw Pact, as I said. I think I said this in the overview video. With the solo assistant, you get a certain number of cards that are a basic number of cards that apply to any situation, and then you get, I believe, 12 defensive-minded cards and 18 offensive-minded cards. And whichever posture the solo side is in, you add 12 of that kind of card to the mix. You can optionally roll a die to see if the Soviets have an incompetent leader or an excellent leader. If it's an incompetent leader, they get 6 offensive cards, and if it's an excellent leader, they get all 18. I have by fiat given them all 18. Because, as I've said in the previous series I did, it doesn't seem to me that the solo assistant calls on indirect fire as often as I would think it would want to. I'm not sure why you would be defending a position and have indirect fire available and enemies in line of sight and not utilize it. So I'm thinking that maybe the offensive cards will do that a bit more. And as I said, I've added tons of stuff to this game, and a lot of it is artillery. Speaking of which, very cool thing that I learned. I don't know how I missed this. I guess I never really read the whole Defense of Frankfurt rulebook, but check this out. Here is a Russian artillery unit. This unit is towed behind a truck, and so the towed artillery, in order for them to keep up and be in command, that's going to be tough. If they're towed, they're going to have to move up, they're going to have to unhook, they're going to have to blah, 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 blah. But watch what happens when you right click. Notice the selection counter battery mission. Well, and now if you hover over the counter, you'll see it says counter battery. So what you can do, the Americans have this a little bit more flexibly, is the Russians can designate certain units to be counter battery units. And when you have a unit that is on a counter battery mission, if it is not marked ops complete, when its formation is activated, it is allowed to fire at any enemy artillery unit that is marked ops complete. And it does not need a spotter for that. It just needs to be in range. So that might seem strange, but again, I'll say this as I did in the last video. I'm assuming that just about anybody who's interested in this game and watching this video has read the book Red Storm Rising. If not, again, stop watching the video, go get the book and read it. There is a great scene in that where they talk about this American artillery unit that's in the woods, and it's been there quiet, hunkered down for the entire fight so far, the first week of the fight, or 3 days or something. It's just been sitting there. It's been sitting there waiting, doing nothing, even though the Americans are getting pounded. And what it's been doing is waiting to get a certain type of electronic signal that indicates that the Russian command post is in that place so that it can unload on that command post, which is not exactly counter battery fire, but it's the same principle. You've got these artillery units that are sort of waiting around to see another unit fire, and when they see that unit fire, they get to fire back at it. The way the game flow works in this, you don't do that instantaneously, so you wait until it's the activated artillery unit's turn, and any unit that is marked ops complete has fired at some point, and so is an eligible target if it's in range. So what that means is these artillery units, by the way, did not come as part of the scenario setup. I just wanted to put all the cool toys in. And so what that means is I can bring these on. They've got range to almost the entire map, not literally the entire map, but There's 45 hexes, so there's 65. So they got a 55 hex range. So they can shoot down to here, but this is where the action is going to be, right? This objective, this objective. So I just need to get those units towed out onto the map into a as survivable as possible a location that is within range of these objectives or whichever objective the Soviets decide to pursue, and they can be counter battery fire. There are a lot of artillery units in this game. I added a lot of them, and a lot of on-map artillery units. And so, awesome. I'm super excited about that. I love that rule, and I can't wait to use it and see what I can do with it. So, all that being said, it is now time for the 145th Guards tank. Is it a regiment? I think so, regiment, to get onto the map and start trying to bust open some holes for the follow-on forces to exploit. One thing that I have noticed about this game is there certainly are some formations that have a mix of heavy armor and infantry, but generally speaking, it's one or the other. The tank units, the companies or the battalions for the Soviets, I think they are, tend to be only armor without infantry. And so it seems like it's kind of tough to do combined arms because you're only activating a formation at a time. And so things like the tanks trying to get through an urban area with infantry support, it's a little bit hard to do in this game. And so I wonder if there might be some way. I mean, I guess I could just make formations on my own with infantry. But the infantry can't ride on the tanks or anything, which makes sense. These are tank platoons. But they could like stack together and move very slowly, move at the infantry pace while they're going through the city. Something like that. Anyway, enough rambling. Let's get going. So the Soviets have, they got a fair bit of artillery, as I've said. They've got a couple of recon units here, one pretty lightly armored, pretty underpowered BRDM-2, but it moves around fast and it can swim the river. And then the BMP-1, somewhat better armor, not a lot, but it's got some hitting power, and it can also swim the river. And these units will never be out of command, and they can call in artillery fire themselves. And we've got, what do we have? The Soviets have one other. They have one self-propelled artillery attached to this tank battalion here. These, as I said, these towed units are going to be dedicated counter battery units, and then they got this bridging unit here. So I think that what the Russians are going to do is start out just coming right in here. They're going to send in some armor, and they're going to, in the very first entry hex, they're not going to be observed, although in this hex they will be able to be fired upon by this tank and at long range by the Jagdpanzer. But it seemed, and then eventually these Mungas, they get to take shots. It just seems like what the Soviets want to do is come down here and they want to get in position to start taking shots at this tank to get it off the hill, and then come down here and try to brush these units aside. But I'm going to see what the solo assistant says to me about that, because I do want to use it. So what it says is if a unit is in point-blank range, you fire assault. That's not happening. If it's at regular effective range, you either fire or move towards it. And since we're off the map, we're going to be moving towards. I think there might be something in here about moving on map if you're off map on some of the cards. I don't know. So anyway, this is a regular orders card. You see there's no icon down here. You will occasionally see orders cards that have like an explosion on it, and those are the ones that are designed to be offensive cards. So I assume they'll be more aggressive. So let's start it up here. I sometimes want to start with my recon units to be able to call in artillery, but I think that they are too vulnerable. So here comes a stack of tanks. That's one. That's two. And I don't think there's any reason for tanks can move there and have the same firepower. There's no reason to wait. So the Abrams is going to take its crack. It has 4 dice needing 5s to hit, and it looks like it scored a hit. And the Soviet tank has 4 dice needing 5s plus 1 for the city, so 5 dice needing 5s. It saves. So that was ineffective. I, generally speaking, don't have my units take long-range shots, so I don't think I will have the Jagged Panzer fire. That'd be long range, right? That doesn't seem useful. But I think that maybe this recoilless rifle unit down here, that's within effective range. They can't see them through the city. They can see them, but that's long range. So this unit here, well, no, actually, that's not correct. So you're only allowed to make 1 opportunity fire shot each time the unit moves. So this unit is not eligible to take a shot. The Soviet tanks are now going to fire. They've moved half of their movement points, so they lose 1 firepower dice, and they are, I believe they're at effective range here. They're at effective range, so they're going to go ahead and take a shot at, they'll go ahead and just take a shot at the Jagged Panzer for now, because it is able to still act. So that's going to be 2 dice needing 4s. And that's a hit. And the Jag Panzer is in the city. It is, so it's 2 dice needing 5s plus 1 for the elevation. So it's 3 dice needing 5s. And it saves. All right, so the second Soviet tank does the same thing. And that is just no, it's a hit. Yeah, it's a hit. It's 1 hit. And so, again, 3 saves. And they fail to save. So a single hit. And so the Jagged Panzer is disrupted. And these units are ops complete. Now, one of the things that I often do is I move 2 units at a time, and I have them blocking, and I'm like, no, I can't get through. But I don't think it matters here. I think that the Soviets can bring in another stack of tanks. I think that they can take a shot from that hex, or they can take a shot from, they cannot take a shot from there. So 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, and here they'd be blocked too. So they're going to have a little trouble getting as many shots off as they would like. So let's go ahead and bring this stack of tanks on here, and we'll move here for 1, 2, 3. Now again, I have to see. So that's an effective range shot. So this guy is going to use it or lose it. 2 dice, needing 5s with the recoilless rifle. That's a hit. So the Soviets get 4 dice, needing 5s to save, and they save. So status marker down here, ops complete. And so now the Soviets could fire back at that unit, but that's kind of silly. So that was 1, 2. It's going to move here. That was 3. This is 4. It can move its full movement factor and still take a weaker shot. And if they move there, they could take fire from those fellows, which doesn't worry them too terribly much. But let's just have them stop right here. And now each of these tanks will be losing 2 firepower dice. They'll each get 1 shot, but I think that we're now at point blank range, right, half range. So each tank is going to get a single die needing a 3. And so they're going to, first one's going to shoot at the Patton tank. That is a hit, and the Patton tank gets 3 needing 6 for its armor, and then 1 for the city and 1 for elevation at 5. So 3 at 6 and 2 at 5. And it saves the single hit. That was a single hit, right? Single hit. So the second Soviet tank is going to do the same thing. 1 die needing a 3. It makes a hit, and here we go again. And the Abrams saves. So their ops complete. Now we have another stack of tanks here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think that we're just going to continue this, moving as fast as we can. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I don't think that, and definitely that unit doesn't. So that, yeah, that's a shot. So the Munga, one of these Mungas is taking a shot. 2, needing 5. Ooh, there's a hit. 4 dice, needing 5s to save. Lots of saves. One of these Mungas is ops complete. And yes, if the Munga scores a hit on a Soviet tank, I will be saying Cowabunga, or perhaps Cowamunga. Anyhow, we're going to do the same thing here. Single die needing 3 at the Patton tank. That's a miss, and a second shot from the second tank. That's a hit. The Patton gets 3 needing 6. It fails, and now it's 2 needing 5, and so it does not save. So that's good news for the Soviets. They have caused this unit to be disrupted, and that's really what they're looking for here. And I've got a kitty coming down. Yeah, back online. My 5.5-year-old Soren is observing. Say hello, Soren.
Hi.
Yeah, he, I hope, will be a war gamer someday soon. So what I've done here, Soren, is these tanks here, these red tanks, they've driven on to the map and they've taken shots at these gray units, and some of the shots hit and some of the shots didn't. And now the rest of these units are going to come down and do whatever they're going to do. This is a unit that has the headquarters on it, so it probably makes sense for it to come on, and it probably makes sense for it to stay in some cover. And there is just line of sight up to that hill, so the T-80 with the headquarters unit is going to fire 2 dice needing 4s plus 2 dice for the headquarters, so 4 dice needing 4s at the Patton tank. And that's 2 hits. And so the Patton, as before, gets 3 needing 6, then 2 needing 5. Oh, it saved one of the hits, now 2 needing 5, and it failed to save that. So my son's asking me questions. So the tank is now also reduced by Russian fire. And so the tank shot up at these tanks, Soren, and they blew some of them up, which is good for the Russians, but bad for the West Germans. We don't really care who wins. We're just looking to have a good game, right? All right, so now the bottom tank gets to take a shot, and it will, getting 2 shots, needing 4. And I think that, yeah, it makes sense to shoot at the tank again, right? The most dangerous unit. 2 shots, needing 4. 1 hit. 3 saves, needing 6. None. 2 saves, needing 5. And it saves. So
What saves?
the West German tank got hit, but it didn't get destroyed. It was its crews were very heroic.
Was it heroic?
It means that they were very brave in the face of danger. So now we have to bring. Oh, we got another segment of tanks here. Let's bring these guys in too. They'll come in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 2, 3, 4. They might get a shot. They might get shot at here. No, not quite. That goes just inside the hex. It doesn't go down. No, it goes down the spine. Yeah, that's a shot. All right, so one of these Mungas here. 2 at 5.
I am going to buy it.
No hits. So let's ops complete this unit.
What's a unit?
These little markers here, they're called units. And so now it's going to move 1 more. And this second Munga probably does not have a shot, but does this Munga have a shot? It surely does. Was that range? That's a long-range shot, but you know, use it or lose it, right? No, no, that doesn't make sense. They're not going to shoot. Okay, so now each of these tanks gets a shot with one die, needing, I think, needing threes, because I think we're point blank here. No, not quite. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, let's move here. 6 to get into point blank range. Now that does open up a solid shot here, so they're going to take their 2 at 5. Oh, 2 hits. This might not be good. The Russians get 4 dice needing 5s to save, and they failed to save. So the one tank that was shot is disrupted and also reduced. It means everybody in the unit is really scared and they're not sure what to do, and their ears are ringing from the sounds of explosions, and they're going like, oh no. And so they can't really follow orders very well, and they can't fire back, and they just have to sort of get themselves calmed down and ready to get back in the fight. But the last tank is still good to go. It gets a single shot, and it's going to go ahead and, yeah, it's going to shoot at the tank, at the Patton. And that is a hit because it's point blank range. Even if it wasn't, it would be. So 3 at 6. No, I'm just, so the first group of saves fails. I'm just recording a video of this. And the second one saves. So the Soviets have sent their T-80s out into the field, and they have dealt some damage to the West Germans, but not a lot, and they are out in the open, although the West Germans don't have a ton of firepower. Now the Soviets have some other mainly support vehicles, and I don't think I want to bother. I don't think I want to end up with any of these recon vehicles being exposed to fire right now. So they're going to come in here, move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, why not just come in here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5. Will there be any place that they are potentially coming under fire? Yeah, they can come under fire right there. I don't want that. And don't want that. So they're going to come to rest right there, and the other recon unit is going to do just the same thing. All right, buddy, I'll be up in just a few minutes, and I will get you something to eat. All right, so their ops complete, and now we have, like I said, we have the towed artillery units, and what I'm going to do with them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I put them in that hex, they will not be in line of sight. So they're going to come to rest there. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, no. Oh, getting a phone call. Hold on. All right. So the trucks, so 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't want them both in the same hex in case an air support mission gets flown before they activate again. But I'm not going to deploy them quite yet. I want to get them just a little, well, should I deploy them and be prepared for my counter battery missions? Let's see. So yeah, they're in plenty of good range there, and plenty of good range there. So yeah, you know, they should probably, they can only go half and be deployed, so they're not going to be deployed right now. But, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3. Yeah, nah, they're gonna 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're going to hopefully not be bombed before they get to move again. And now we've got the bridging unit. Yeah, that we're not planning on using that right now, so that will come in here and move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just sort of staying in the rear. And the self-propelled artillery unit will do basically the same thing. So just be in the same hex here. Where's my headquarters? In its command range, I want to have the ability to get all my units in command the next time this formation activates, which I have. And then the anti-aircraft unit here, it will go 1, 2, 3. Now it's just going to stay right here. And ops complete. And ops complete. And that is the end of the initiative phase. The 145th Guards tanks had initiative, which means they begin the game activated, and they are now finished. Oh, I did mess something up, though. If I'm going to move these trucks a second time, they're going to have to be in command range. So they're going to come in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then will I still be able to put them in command if they're there? Nope, but if they're there, I can. So that's where they move to. Don't want to have to make a command roll to be able to get them moving and deployed for their counter battery mission. So that's the end of that. Now I'm going to have to end the video here, but I always like to turn the first or the next card before I do so. Let us see. It is the 79th Guards Tank Division, which means that all of these formations will activate as part of this card. I pick the order, but they each get an activation. The only one that is currently available to move is the 45th Guards Tank Regiment, so that's next. But that's how these division and regimental or battalion level activation cards work. There will eventually be a couple of more formations from this list that will be part of this, and so they will activate. But for now, when we come back, the Soviet armor will once again make its mad dash towards the West Germans, which looks a little bit grim for the West Germans, and I will try to remember that I had dedicated myself to putting these infantry a little bit closer, because I think they have, well, they'll get the headquarters, and they're going to get a leader, which is good. They have an anti-aircraft missile, and I'm not sure what's going on here. They don't have 2 leaders, but they do have an anti-tank missile. So, yeah. We'll get to that later. But for now, we are all done. I appreciate anybody who has watched so far. As always, would love to get feedback. I never take offense to correcting my rules mistakes or talking to me about what you think my tactics are or should be. All right. Be well.